Hello and welcome to the Miss Rolling In podcast. My name, as always, is Jacob Staten, and as always, I'm joined by Mr. JJ Armstrong. JJ, how are you, mate?
I'm starved for some Premier League football because I hate the international break and I'm bored. How are you?
I completely echo that sentiment, mate. I think international football is as dull as dishwater outside of a tournament. Even at a tournament, it's not the most fun. However, I have been watching the rugby, which has been. I completely respect that sentiment, my mate. But if anyone's listening and they're a rugby fan, wow, what a weekend of rugby you've just had! Sensational. But that's by the by. We're a football podcast. We're a Forest podcast, JJ. Let's talk about that.
We are. Speaking of things that aren't boring, we are still on the hunt for 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. So head to that. You're bored of us saying it for now, but we're close. So please do us a favour.
We're getting close Next. Crystal Palace, Joshua. Talk to me.
Yes. Obviously, we are recording this podcast on Monday, the 16th of October. So we are quite late. We are aware of that. And we are aware that if you listen to other Forest podcasts, you'll have heard every angle possible. So ironically, after that, what I'm going to say is we're not going to bang on about it because I know you're not bothered anymore. That game's gone.
Dead.
So Crystal Palace, we said in our last podcast prior to the game that it will tell us a lot about where Forest are. And I still think that it did. I know I saw a lot of things online of people saying that they were slightly disappointed and this was the time to get at Palace and all that. But I look at it as probably should have come away with 3 points. But The fact that we can hold our own against a well-established mid-table Premier League side, let's face it, who still had a strong starting 11. I know they had an injury fairly early on, but their starting 11 was still strong, regardless of the injuries they've got. We looked comfortable, we looked in control, and there was a lot of positives. So whilst it was semi-frustrating that we didn't come away with 3 points, I'm quite happy with it.
Absolutely, completely agree. I mean, I think the main talking point out of this game has been Murillo and how he's, I don't know,
the greatest defender ever born.
Yes, pretty much. Yeah, he's the new Franz Beckenbauer, isn't he? Playing it out of defence. His ball over the top to Morgan Gibbs-White, it was on a number of times. It was made a number of times. There's obviously the one where Gibbs-White hits a post. He's extremely unlucky. It's a wonderful effort as well. There's his run. I think whilst the shot at the end wasn't the best, I do think their keeper makes a wonderful save, especially the initial one. But yeah, I think it's a great, they had one shot on target in the whole game. To go away to any Premier League, especially an established Premier League team like Palace, to go away and let them only register one shot on target is phenomenal, if you ask me.
We showed signs of comfort on the ball away from home, which previously I don't think we've really ever seen. I think our midfield really came into their own, got a foot on it, sort of dictated the game, the tempo. And I would establish this whole thing as, it's just at the minute with the team and the moments that happened, we're a nearly team at the minute. We're clearly in transition. We're nearly on the next sort of path up to the next stage. We're sort of obviously building something, and with that we need time. And obviously nearly moments in the game in terms of nearly scoring through Gibbs-White or nearly scoring the greatest goal ever seen from Murillo or nearly having a thunder bastard from Toffolo. So obviously there was a few moments where it was a nearly Palace scoring and putting the game to bed, but still, it's just one of those things. We're close, we're getting there. I think the progression is extremely clear to see from last season. So strap in, enjoy the ride, and as this transition happens, I think eventually, if it's the signs of this positive this early on, with what is essentially another squad rebuild in a way, I'm really looking forward to it.
Same, absolutely, couldn't have put it better. But this kind of slides us in nicely, JJ, at this point into discussing the number of points picked up in the recent opposition. So I'm just looking here, and we're saying we got 3 points from Burnley at home, Man City away, Brentford at home, and Palace away. Is that potentially a disappointing return?
Yes.
I think potentially it's a disappointing return, especially if I'm looking at. I think more specifically, I'm looking at we should have beat either Burnley or Brentford. In my opinion, I think taking 3 out of those games, giving us 5 points would have made me extremely happy. I think Man City, even though they had a man sent off and they shut up shop, I think we were never going to get anything from that realistically, even though we did play much better. Palace, I mean, it's not out of the realms of expectations to say we should have got 9 points out of those 4 games.
Yes.
Now they're finished.
Possibly even more.
I think, yeah.
But I think with that, on paper, I think it looks disappointing. And in some respects, it still is. But when you add in the context within each game, you sort of come out the other side thinking, I think on balance, that was quite accurate. So the Burnley game, for example, was our first game embedding someone like SANGARE in the midfield. And I think if you do just change your midfield like that, it's not always going to make life as easy as it is. And I think Burnley are still quite a good side. I know we're yet to see them fully win. I think they beat Luton and that was it. But, Luton are also a struggling side. But I think Burnley look okay to me. So it's never going to be as easy as it sounds on paper, because I think a lot of our fan base thought we've made these changes, we've got these people in, we'll piss it. But it's never that easy. So in the context of the game, new players in, just off an international break, I believe it was. Fairly difficult. And, also in the context of the game, they scored a second and had a goal disallowed. So in that context, difficult, but at the end of it, you're happy with the point because of elements that have happened within the game. Man City, you always expect to lose. They went down to 10 men with their most influential player sort of gone. And you look at the second half performance and you think, you know what, if we could just finish our chances or just finish them, we could possibly walk away with this with a point. But the context here is it's Man City. You'll struggle to, even if they've got 10 men, you'll struggle to beat them, unless you're Wolves, apparently. Brentford was the next game. Comes with the context of we were down to 10 men for a large portion of the game. We did change some personnel, so Morgan Gibbs-White wasn't in from the start. So again, a few little pieces that stop you from fully being able to enjoy the game and eventually just thinking, thank God we got a point. And then the Palace Forest game, tough opposition away, regardless of what you can say about their injuries. We've also got injuries. And again, the little things like Taiwo being injured, I think affected us. And I think if he was fit, obviously it's speculative, but I think we possibly would have had enough to win. But the fact that you can take away a comfortable, largely performance and an improved performance on the road against an established mid-table side is positive. And if you asked anyone before the game, I think most of the more realistic ones would say a point would be brilliant. So regardless of all that, I still think 3 points is disappointing. I still think it's not really the return we deserved. I think on balance, we're progressing as a side, and I think we should have possibly picked up at least a few more points. But considering the position, sort of from an overview of where we are in the table and the improved performances, I still don't feel under any threat of relegation at the minute. I'm excited and feel positive that the club is moving in a forward direction. So whilst I do think it is a disappointing return, the work that we did at the start of the season to pick up that sort of what you could call a scalp against Chelsea, maybe not given as they're not great at the minute, but the work we've done at the start of the season has enabled us to just have a bit of breathing space, look forward and just know that with a bit of time, a bit of embedding within the team, we'll get there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's very, very, really, really key to keep track on. Although we would have liked more points, that the performances were still where we need to be. We come back from behind against Burnley. We're 10 men against Brentford, Palace away. City is what it is, but it's important to remember where those results are. And it similar goes for the Arsenal away. That was a much better performance. Two, in my opinion, one really good goal and one really unlucky goal. United away, I think Marcus Rashford's cheated us out of a point there. So I just think we're definitely moving in the right direction.
Yeah, and I think last season if you looked at the way we played away and the way we only seem to really be able to beat the big teams, but you would look at this relative fixtures of Brentford at home and probably expect to lose. I think we drew that game in the reverse fixture, but
sure. It was the Dean Henderson penalty, wasn't it? It wasn't a penalty.
There's obviously that element to the Brentford game this year as well. But Burnley, you'd really look at as the only fixture within those four that are an easy 3 points.
Yep.
They weren't, but we come out of this with 3 points anyway. So I think we're still on track for the relative amount of points that you probably could expect for a transitioning side in their second season.
Yep, absolutely. Which slides us into a what has to be 3 points game, which is Luton at home, Joshua.
Yes.
Yeah. We've both prepared what our starting 11s would be. We've taken into account injuries. It's not a dream 11. Do you want to go with yours first, JJ?
Absolutely. I'm going to
what formation are you playing, Joshua?
So I deliberated about this quite a lot because I personally think a 4-2-3-1 would be lovely to see to play Morgan Gibbs-White in his best role. However, comes with the caveat of I just think that midfield three cannot be disrupted at the minute. I think they've been great together, so I've gone for a 4-3-3 to keep them together. So there are a few changes. I've dropped Matt Turner and I've gone for Vlachodimos in goal. I didn't watch him the other day for the international break. He was in goal for Greece, but I heard very good things. I also saw that Matt Turner did something good in his game, but I didn't watch it.
I will caveat that and defend you, mate. Like, I don't watch England play, so I'm not going to watch Greece play.
Yes. But I've dropped Turner for Vlac. He was seen as the number one goalkeeper when he came in. And I think we said it was just waiting for Matt Turner to make a mistake for him to get in. I thought that the last game was the right time to drop Matt Turner because of what he'd done in the previous game. But I guess, the last fixture before an international break, it possibly is a good time to just stick with what you know and change keepers after that. But whilst he obviously didn't concede against Palace, there's something about him at the minute that I don't quite feel as confident with. And I think he's the type of character that having some time on the bench will help him push himself harder to be a better keeper for us. So, goes without saying, I've never seen this bloke play, so he could be worse. So, who knows? But I would like to see him so I can make an informed decision. And if he's shit, don't blame me. So I've gone for that in goal. I've gone for a back four of Aurier, Murillo, Bolly, and Aina. Now, big caveat here of don't shake your head. Big caveat here.
Injured.
Wait, big caveat here of injuries. Aurier and Aina are potentially injured, which would be a massive shame. I think it's always difficult to tell with Steve Cooper who is actually injured and who isn't. Aurier looked to be in some discomfort at the Palace game, but carried on and eventually was replaced by Montiel, I believe at half time. Can't quite remember. So you'd hope that was more, precautionary and that he's back playing because he hasn't got an international break. And Aina has had plenty of time out. So I'd like to hope that he is ready to come back into the mix. If that isn't the case and they are both injured, you'd have to swap Aurier for Montiel and Aina for Toffolo. And I think Toffolo did enough in the last game for me to be completely fine with that. Montiel has looked better than when he started, but if it was a choice and they're both fit, I would choose Aurier over him. I can also think Nico Williams, where are you? I saw you played for Wales the other day. Where are you? So that's my back four. Preferred to start with Aurier and Aina, but if they're injured, we've got adequate backup.
Yep.
Midfield three, Dominguez, Sangare, and Mangala. I've stuck with them just because I think they are working great together in a minute. They've allowed us to get a foothold in midfield. I think Dominguez is proving to be a brilliant signing. He looks fantastic. I think we're starting to see the best of Sangare, or not the best, but we're starting to see Sangare getting more comfortable.
Absolutely.
And we're seeing flashes of brilliance from him, and it's only going to increase with every game in more confidence. And I think the combination of the two has allowed us to see the best of Mangala, because I was always a bit unsure of what he brought to the team. And you could always tell he was a good player. He was a bit of a jack of all trades, master of none player.
Mm-hmm.
But I think having these other two players beside him allows him to be at his best and shows what he can do. And he is very adept at being on the ball. So that midfield three for me is fantastic and almost sort of gifts us the ability to win the midfield battle. But they've all got enough about them to get the ball moving forward and get in the mix of things. So very exciting. Because of that, I think it means that Gibbs-White doesn't really play in his preferred role as much. So I've gone for him starting on the right, Hudson-Odoi on the left, and Origi in the middle. We had Chris Wood against Palace. I thought he was pretty poor. I'm not sure what it is, but he just ain't Taiwo, is he? Origi,
I just don't think he doesn't suit us, does he? He doesn't suit the way we play.
No, he's a great player to come on in the last 10 minutes to be a bit of a threat in the box when the opposition are tired.
Yeah.
But from the start of a game, especially if you're against sort of pacey centre-backs, I just don't think he's the right player.
No.
I also don't think Origi is either, but we're out of options. So I think Wood and Origi are great players to bring off the bench when there's 10 minutes left. Obviously, the Taiwo injury is harsh. Like, it's not good. And it's a shame to see that he's injured again. And I think at some point we need to really address this striker situation, because Wood and Origi, like I say, good bench options. But once Taiwo's gone, does that fuck us a little bit? You sort of hope that Gibbs-White and Hudson-Odoi and the likes of ELANGA can contribute goals as well. So for this game, I would just go with Origi. I know this isn't his position, and I know that we've tried and failed to do this before with other players, but I won't half mind seeing just ELANGA in that spot for now whilst Taiwo's out, because he has the pace to run behind the defence. And whilst he isn't an out-and-out striker, whilst he is most commonly a winger, I just think his threat of, you can see that he can finish. Look at Chelsea, but just having that pace that we would typically have with Taiwo might allow us to play the way that we normally do. But I think in terms of having an out-and-out striker, Origi probably is my choice. So I'll go 4-3-3 with Vlak, Aurier, Murillo, Bolly, Aina, Dominguez, Sangare, Mangala, and Gibbs-White, Hudson-Odoi, and Origi. And that's my 11. But obviously, I'd wish Taiwo was here. Rest in peace.
We all wish Taiwo was here. So I've gone for 3-4-3. I think the game, I don't think that it'll be a midfield battle. I think it'll be almost a kind of defend and attack battle. I think the way that Luton play, they're very counter-attack, they're very big and strong. So I think we need a bit more protection at the back. And I don't see it coming away with like a 3-0 win or anything like that. I think it'll be not necessarily scrappy, but I think it'll be tight. And I think we need to kind of shut our shop up rather than get at them to win. So I've also gone for Odysseus Lacademos in goal over Matt Turner. I think you're absolutely right. I think he probably should have been dropped for the last game. Not that he did anything wrong against Palace, really. And I still really like his quick distribution. But I just think he's had a couple of gaffes so far this season. I think he might do him well to have a bit of time out of the team and to kind of refocus. My back three is Willy Bolly, Murillo, and Niakate. And what I'm really looking for out of this back three as well is Murillo in the middle, because he's got the kind of, I'll come on to my winger / fullbacks in a second, but because he's got that protection of a back 5/3 going forwards, he can step into the midfield with my centre midfielders to help them, similar to what he did against Crystal Palace. So then the kind of the four in midfield with also the fullbacks is Neco Williams, who I've gone for over Montiel. I just think we need a bit more. We don't want to get caught up. We know what Neco Williams can do. I think Montiel's still getting used to the league. I think there are different games to blood him in. I've gone for Sangare and Dominguez. Obviously, Mangala, we're hearing he might have a bit of a knock, but I still think those two are better. I think I still probably would have gone for Yates over Mangala, just purely for against Luton. And Harry Toffolo at left back or left wing back. because again, I think he was more than good, more than decent against Crystal Palace, and he was really good against Brentford when he came on as well. And then up top, I've gone for Callum Hudson-Odoi down the right, Divock Origi up front, and Morgan Gibbs-White on the left. I think Divock Origi is probably a bit closer to what Taiwo is than you think. I think Divock Origi is also a poacher, same as Taiwo. He's got a bit of pace to get in behind. We've only really seen that from Taiwo this season as well. I think it would be a pretty good fit. I agree with what you said about Chris Woods. I don't necessarily think that it's Chris Woods' fault. I don't think he's a particularly bad player. I just don't think we don't play for a target man. And if we're not doing that, then why is he on the pitch? Like I say, he's good for the last 10 minutes, but yeah, not for me. So my team is Vlachodimos in goal, back three or back five of Necker Williams, Willy Bolly, Murillo, Moussa Niakate, and Harry Toffolo, with Ibrahim Sangare and Nicholas Dominguez in centre midfield, with Callum Hudson-Odoi, Morgan Gibbs-White either side of Divock Origi. And I don't really care which side Hudson-Odoi and Gibbs-White do, because I imagine they'll swap.
Yeah. And they'll both quite happily cut in, I think. So, I mean, it's always difficult to predict, Mr. Cooper. And it's always difficult to predict where injuries leave us. Obviously, there's been the news that Taiwo is out for a month. I also wouldn't be completely shocked if he plays on Saturday. I wish that was the case. That would be brilliant. But I think he is genuinely injured. But a lot of Forest fans, whilst they see this as a must-win, which I agree with, I think it is maybe not a must-win, but we need to target this for 3 points. What I don't think it is, by any stretch of imagination, which some people believe is an easy win or a guaranteed win. And I think Luton showed a lot of spunk against Spurs. They showed some moxie, and they're not as easy as people think. You can look at the results on paper, but I've watched them a few times this season, and they are difficult to play against. Almost unbelievably so, because the resources they've got are limited compared to other clubs, including us. So fair play to them. So it's not going to be an easy game. I think, Jacob, we might possibly have to prepare ourselves for a bit of a battle here.
Yes, 100%, 110%. It's going to be a tough one. Absolutely. That's why I've gone for the kind of the bit more solid, a bit more kind of Cooper reliant back five.
Yeah,
I think it's important. The longer the game goes on, the more I favour us. I think it's really important not to get caught out in this game, because they're just that kind of team, in my opinion. Luton are, and they would catch us out.
Yeah, and they've got Morris up front, who is definitely a goal threat. He looked quite dangerous against Spurs. So should be an interesting game, and I hope that the City Ground home fans don't get too bored too early. We can stick behind the team.
Yep, absolutely. Joshua, what is your score prediction?
So, I'm going to be a bit of a dick and go against what you said. I'm going to go with a 3-0, which you said it wouldn't be. I have just said it's going to be tough, but I think it would be nice to stake a claim at home and beat a team that on paper you think we should be beaten at home by showcasing the best of our ability to be creative across the field now. We've got someone like Murillo creating chances from the back, be it driving through midfield or putting some lovely balls up top. We've not really seen that too much, other than Worrell possibly in the Championship. We've got a midfield that I think is capable of winning the midfield and also getting the ball moving and getting themselves in great positions. Love to see them have a few attempts outside the area as well, because I think they have got themselves in some naughty positions. So the confidence to just pull the trigger and go for it. Love to see that. So I think we've got a good balance in midfield, capable of getting us moving. And I know Taiwo's not here, but Hudson-Odoi and Gibbs-White are looking quite naughty to me. So once they start getting their shooting boots on, I'm quite excited to see it. So we're due a good, solid home performance where we are comfortable in both halves and can score some goals. I hope it comes, but I think we really need to stake a claim here. So it would be a valuable 3 points, and I'm going for 3-0.
3-0. I'm going to stay with a bit similar, a bit closer to what I was predicting. I'm going to go with 2-0. I think it'll be kind of an early goal and a late goal and a very tough scrap in between. I don't disagree with what you said. I think 3-0 was kind of the way I said 3-0 because it reflects an easy game, doesn't it? But I could definitely see it being 3-0 and still a tough game.
Absolutely.
But, I'm going 2-0. Early goal and late goal.
Perfect. I'd love to see it, Jacob. I'd love to see it.
A clean sheet as well. Cool. Well, I think that's all we've got time for, isn't it, Joshua, this week?
That's it. We're done. Another reminder, please subscribe on YouTube. We're nearly there. We'd appreciate your help. So please. Well, maybe we'll be more regular and remember to do a podcast if you actually get us to 1,000.
Well, that remains to be seen.
Evidence also suggests not, so we'll see.
If you're listening for the first time, thank you for finding us. We really appreciated it. And if you come back again and again and again and again and again, we love you. You it.